Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
You know, this might be one of those times where I'm hoping I'm a little bit psychic, and if you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you're in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of industry professionals and pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, influences, and, well, any sort of fun stuff under the sun that we can think of. And if you'd like to subscribe to our podcast, and I certainly hope that you would, you can do that basically wherever you find your podcasts. Google, Amazon, Apple, Spotify, it's all good. And plus, you can find every single one of our episodes archived over at our YouTube channel. Also, we'd really love it if you'd follow us on social media. You can do that at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at either In the Seats or at It's Podcast One for all sorts of updates. And finally, and I dare say most importantly, would you please give us a visit over at In the Seats, intheseats.ca, for all the latest and greatest movie news and reviews and anything else that we can think of about the moving image, because our hard-working team likes talking about that kind of stuff, and we love it when you read about it. But this is a good one, and I'm kind of hoping I'm a little psychic on this episode, because if I'm hopeful, if I'm right, by the time this airs, by the time you're listening to this, it will be an interview with an Academy Award nominee, because we are talking with Phillipe LaCote about his new film Night of the Kings, which is in select theaters and VOD now, and it is a really fascinating ode to the power of storytelling. It's about this young man who is sent to Maca, which is a prison in the Ivory Coast in the middle of the forest, which is ruled by the prisoners. And he is designated by the boss of the prison to be the new Roman and to tell a story to the other prisoners. But little does he know that, well, he learns eventually, but he has to keep the story going or they're going to kill him. And that's when things get interesting. But it's drama, it's fantasy, it's magical realism, it's down and dirty realism, it's a fantastic film, and we talked with Phillipe about sort of his inspiration for the story, and so very much more. We had some technical difficulties. He's a busy guy. We did this while he's en route in an airport, but it's an interesting talk, and I hope you enjoy it. And like I said, I hope this is a talk with an Academy Award winner, but I guess we'll find out by the time this airs. But enjoy our talk. All right, well, first of all, for the thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate this.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, first off, congratulations on the film. I absolutely enjoyed it. And I mean, I love really how it evokes sort of the importance of story and just sort of how our lives really do center around that. I'm kind of curious, can you walk me through sort of your initial inspiration for the film?
My first inspiration for the film was a friend, a childhood friend. I met him 5 years ago, and he was out of La Maca, this prison, the big prison in Ivory Coast, and he told me, in La Maca, we have a ritual. We choose a prisoner, and he is obliged to tell a story. So it's a true story at the beginning. Of course, they don't kill him, and it's not in one night. But I wrote this from one Arabian night, 1001 Arabian night, Sherazade. Yeah, because I wanted to have a concentration in cinema, to have one night, to have something more dramatized, and to have the death. And when this friend told me this story, I say, wow, there is something inside who is amazing. And this story was connected with my own life, because when I was a child, my mother was in La Maca as a political prisoner.
Oh.
So I traveled each one day by week to go to see my mother cross this forest with a collective taxi. And La Maca was like a kingdom for me, because it was not a sad experience. It was strange, but it was not sad. And I kept very strong image of this place because La Maca is a very open prison. And as a visitor, you can meet a prisoner, you can discuss with a prisoner can take your bread and eat in front of you. So, yeah, there was funny and special situations. And I wanted to tell all to tell all these stories. Yeah.
The location is a character in and of itself. Can you talk to me a little bit about finding that? Because I love just how you shot the whole thing, and especially sort of the use of like long shots and sort of being like having these long extended takes down the corridor. It really gave the place a bit of a foreboding feel.
Yeah, we didn't shoot all the film in La Maca. It's a set. We shoot the beginning outside in the real Maca, and after we built La Maca, our prison, because it was more easy to shoot in our space.
Of
But
course.
but of course, the first character of this film is the prison, because this prison is very particular because it's a prison inside the forest. So it's a place, it's a sound, it's an image. And for me, it was very important. It's for this the film starts with this image of the prison. The prison is the main character, and it was important to have this long corridor, to have different spaces in this prison, to feel exactly the place. The story is important, but the place helps the story.
Now, I love the young man in the lead, and it really does feel like it's one of those situations. If you had had an experienced actor in that part, it may not have come off the same. Can you talk a little bit about finding him and just sort of getting him into this mindset of where he has to tell this story to save his life?
Bakary Koné is not an actor. It's his first time to play. We spent 2 years with my casting director in different suburbs of Abidjan, of our city, to select 40 young people, dancers, art fighters, singers, and new actors. And we made a workshop during 2 months. And at the end of this workshop, I decided to choose Bakary Koné because I developed a real connection with him. It was very easy for me to speak with him, to give him some advice about to direct this actor. It was very easy for me. It was more easy, so I decided to make the film with him.
How much of the, I guess, internal sort of interaction with the prisoners is sort of based on your research, and how much of it is dramatized? Because I was really struck by sort of the theatricality, especially towards the end, when the two were dueling and they were posing and sort of arguing and trying to fight with each other. Is that based in fact, or were you trying to delve it more into something a little bit more fantastical at that stage?
Yeah, you know, in African prison, in La Maca and in African prison, like Ivory Coast, for example, 70% of the population have less than 30 years. So there is a lot of young people in prison. So the prison is full of energy. When you go to La Maca, it's full of energy. People they sing, they cry. There's lot of noise. They beat on the metal. So I wanted to give this energy. I wanted to restitute this energy, and because it's true, it's like this, and because in cinema, it's also it could be beautiful to have all these people around Roman very involved in the story. Yeah.
No, I'm really struck by just how the story sort of, when he's unfolding the story and how it sort of we get some fantastical elements. And I'm kind of curious because in many ways, if this had been a story about a young man in a prison and it had been played more a little bit straighter as opposed to like more of like a sort of a straight down the line drama, it would have been a very different film. How important was it for you to sort of try to give these elements of hope into the story that's being told to these people in prison?
Yeah, for me, it was important to have this story like this because this prisoner, we are in a special situation in this prison. We have the Red Moon. We have a fight about power inside prisoners, Blackbird, chiefs, and but they ask prisoner, they ask these stories to travel in their mind. So they don't want to hear their own problems. They want to travel, even if they know that it's not true. Yeah, they want something very dramatized. Very, okay, it's a blind man with a boy, and the queen want to kill them, and he will transform him in a bird, and like this. They want different different. Yeah, I don't know, cliffhanger. They want cliffhanger. They want surprise in this. They want something very epic. It's for this I built the story of Zama, of a roman like this, and with this story I wanted also to pay a tribute. I wanted also to pay a tribute to our tradition, our storytelling tradition in West Africa. Yeah, in West Africa we have a big oral tradition. We have storytellers, traditional storytellers. They call them griots, and it was important by this dispositif to say also that we have a strong way of telling stories.
It's very. This story really does feel like a theme that goes through a lot of your works, where we're getting something that's based in things that are truthful and things that happen, but are amped up with a little bit of a fantastical element to them. And I'm kind of curious, for you as a filmmaker, is that what draws you into something, to sort of be able to tell a true story, but to be able to sort of dial it up to 11 a little bit in the way that this film does?
Yeah, I think we can call it real magical realism.
Yeah.
It's not it's true, but when what I want to say, in our culture, I try in Night of the Kings to tell the story with our vision, with our Ivorian African vision, and for us there is no border between magical and realism. There is no border between dead people, alive people, invisible world, visible world. Everything is mixed, everything is connected. We live in all these elements in the same time.
I love it. For you, is this the kind of story that made you want to be a filmmaker? Or like what was the ultimate inspiration for you to want to make films, I guess is the question.
Filmmaking, of course, when I was very young, I had a friend who was a very good storyteller. So I have this memory of listen each night, each evening, a story, even if we knew that it was not true, but it was always present as a true story. But my main experience was my house was in Abidjan. My house was near a cinema, the Magic Cinema, and I spent all my life, all my childhood in this cinema. So my mother put me in this cinema for 10 minutes, sometimes for 30 minutes, sometimes for 1 hour when she wants to make something. And I didn't watch a complete film. It was a Bollywood film. It was a Bruce Lee film. But I decided exactly to become a director, a filmmaker, when I watched a film of Bruce Lee. And there was Bruce Lee and the a bad guy who arrived behind Bruce Lee, and he wanted to kill Bruce Lee with a knife, and one spectator jump on the stage with his knife and kill the bad guy on the screen. Yeah, yeah.
That's
And
wild.
we stopped the screening, and after this, I say, "Wow, what is this art? This medium? Was this strength to be concrete and to be a dream in the same time?" Yeah. So
It feels like you have a Bruce Lee movie in your back pocket you want to make one day. I think he throws. I think you back.
j'ai eu un petit problème. I got a little problem at the end. I didn't understand the end of your sentence.
It just feels like you have a Bruce Lee movie maybe in your back pocket that you'd want to make one day.
I would like. I hope. Yeah.
At the end of the day, this really feels like a film that sort of highlights the importance of just story in general. And I'm kind of curious from your perspective, like, what is your hope for the film now that it's getting out there into the world?
Yeah. I consider myself as a storyteller. And I think that Night of the King is a film about the importance of stories in our life. Why we need to listen stories, why we need to tell stories, what is the role of stories, the silent role of stories, what is important in stories, and what is the strength of stories. In Night of the Kings, we can see that stories can fight violence, can win against violence. And I think today, with this COVID, Corona, maybe we need to think about what is essential for us. Okay, so I say that today maybe it's time to ask about what is essential for us, what is important for us, and like Roman, what story we kept, what story is very important for us. I think this is the question.
No, and I think you're absolutely right. And I think this is an important story, and it's a fantastic film that I hope a lot of people get to check out. And I just want to say thank you again for the time, Phillipe, man. This was a pleasure.
Thank you for your support. Yeah.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.